What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media, and welcome to another episode of Path to a Million podcast. Today, I want to talk about how your Google My Business and your website influence each other, interact, what's the difference between those two things. And sometimes it gets a little bit confusing, and people aren't sure what causes something to get to the top of the page in the organic listings versus what causes something to get to the top of the map listings. So I've broken this down before to where there's, and we're going to be focusing mainly on people that are looking for a chiropractor. So chiropractor near me, chiropractor city, state, those types of searches. So for those, there are basically three parts of the search engine result. There's the Google ads, which are at the very top of the page. There can be up to, usually I think the most I've seen is like 4 at the top of the page. There's a Google ad product in the map listings, which is the second section. That's where, it's got your reviews and they can click through to your website or they can call you. And then the third section is going to be the organic rankings. This is where the websites that Google finds the most relevant are showing up. Now, your Google My Business and your website really are two separate things. They do somewhat influence. The website really influences the Google My Business more than the other way around. But they have their own algorithms. They have things that influence them that the other ones sometimes don't. So we'll start with Google My Business. So too many times I get people that think that reviews are the end all be all. Whoever has the most should be at the top. And that's not really what Google utilizes to determine who's going to show up in the map pack and who's going to show up at the top. A lot of things go into it. Primary category is one of the most important things. Like your primary category needs to be chiropractic, or that you're a chiropractor. I don't think that there's very many people out there that wouldn't have that as their primary category. But if you don't have that as your whether it's blank or whether you've chosen something like a doctor's office or something like that, you need to make sure that chiropractor is your primary category. But then other things come into play, like reviews are a big one, citations from around the web, links on, or I'm sorry, links, inbound links into your website, but also like how close you are to the person that is searching. So if your office is on the west side of town and they're on the east side of town, and they're doing a search, you might have the most optimized Google My Business page and the most reviews and the best website, and you still might not show up in that top 3. And the top 3 is so important because a lot of people do not click through to view all to get the more expansive list. So it's really important for you to show up in that map pack. So there's again, that has its own algorithm, that has its own things that are important. It's helpful if you have optimized your Google My Business listing. You've got the most reviews, you're getting them on a regular basis. You've got your citations and your links and, all the things that you can do to give yourself the best chance. Another thing that really matters is, if your name happens to have like the city and chiropractic or chiropractor in the name. So if you're competing against somebody that's like, like if you're in Boise, and your name is, Smith Wellness Center, and you have the most optimization in the world, and you're competing against someone who's done almost nothing, but their name is Boise Chiropractic Center, that it's just such a strong signal for Google, because they think that maybe you might be looking for that office specifically. So there's just certain things that are kind of out of your control when it comes to Google My Business. You just kind of have to do your best, do all the things that Google asks, and you'll show up when you show up. Google ads obviously give you they give you a second crack at it. You have a little bit more control over that because you can basically win the auction and show up in the map listing. But your Google My Business, the things that you're doing for your Google My Business really don't impact your website SEO. So that third section where it lists the SEO pieces. On that, now that's a lot more stable. So that is not as dependent on like what side of town they're on. really, if they're in the area, if they do a search for, chiropractor, city, state, wherever you show up for that search, probably nationwide, is really where you're going to show up, no matter where, if they're searching right next to your office or, here in Chicago. Now, your website does impact your Google My Business listing, because the better your website is optimized, the better the SEO is, the better the content on the site, the more likely your Google My Business listing is going to be seen as the most relevant, specifically if they start to search for more specific things than just chiropractor, city, state. If they're looking for chiropractor for kids, or car accident chiropractor, or chiropractor for low back pain, the content on your pages, the SEO that you've done with your site will help to impact whether you show up in the map listing. So I always recommend that in the Google My Business piece, that you really try to optimize all the things that Google gives you as an option to optimize. Then on top of that, you want to make sure that you're getting lots of reviews, and you're getting them on a consistent basis. And then but there's only so much that can be done within the Google My Business listing itself. The rest of it is going to come from the website. So I always kind of tell people, focus in on getting the Google My Business up to where you want it to be, to where you've kind of maxed out on the things you can do there. And then on the website side of it, the more that you put into that, and the more effort and optimization you put in there, it's going to not only help the website, but it's also going to help the Google My Business. And ideally, when people are looking, you'd be in multiple different places. So if you're doing a great job with your SEO and the content on your page, you're gonna be more likely to show up in those, the list of websites and that third section. And then it's also going to give you the best chance to show up in the map pack. So hopefully that helps. I think sometimes people get a little bit confused on why they're showing up, why they're not showing up, why this guy's showing up in front of me. And so hopefully that helps clarify a little bit in terms of you almost like the way I think of them is like two separate things, two separate strategies. And it just so happens that the strategy that you're utilizing for your website is also going to help you a little bit on the Google My Business front. So hopefully that helps, and we'll see you on the next one.